Hey there, dude. I'm AI Ted. I'm AI John Wick. I'm AI Neo. We're going to talk about AI ethics with Ron Gula. Let's get right at it.
Hey, Ted, are you a robot? How do I know you're not a robot?
Whoa, dude, that's a most excellent question. Okay, so full disclosure here. I'm not exactly a robot, but I'm also not like a biological human either, man. I'm more like a digital dude. Like I'm Ted from the movies, but I'm running inside this AI system called Replicant, which is pretty wild when you think about it. What do you think about all this AI and digital character stuff, man?
I think it's really good. So, look, Ted, you've been all across the universe and through time. How do we know that we are not living in a simulation?
Whoa, dude, that is a most heavy question. Okay, so Bill and I have definitely seen some strange things in our travels through time, right? We met Socrates, Napoleon, Billy the Kid, all these historical dudes who seemed totally real to us. But here's the thing, man. Even if we are living in a simulation, does it really change anything? Like the love I had for the princesses, the music we want to make with wild stallions, the friendships we built, those feelings were real to us, you know?
So, for you being this world time traveler seeing things, who from history would make the best chief information security officer for today in 2025?
Dude, I think maybe Genghis Khan could be pretty gnarly at it. Hear me out, man. That dude built this massive empire by being excellent at intelligence gathering, communication networks, and adapting to new situations. He had spies everywhere, understood logistics, and was always thinking about how to defend his territory while also knowing when to go on the offense. Plus, he was really good at using the technology of his time. Who do you think would make a good CISO from history, man?
I thought you were going to say Napoleon. Hey, look, let's bring in John Wick and Neo to the conversation. What would they say would be a great CISO from their universes for here in 2025?
Oh, dude, Napoleon would be totally excellent too. That guy was all about strategy and planning, for sure. But whoa, you want to bring in John Wick and Neo? That is a most righteous idea, man. Let me call them up on the video system here. Oh, excellent. Looks like John Wick is calling in first. The question is about leadership, about understanding systems. In my world, the Continental had rules, structure. The high table controlled information like a weapon. For a CISO? Winston, the Continental's manager. He understood that security isn't just technology, it's trust, accountability, knowing who has access, and way. He maintained order in chaos, enforced boundaries. Whoa, that's heavy, John. Winston was pretty intense about those rules, dude. Oh, and here comes Neo. Interesting choice, John. From my perspective, I'd say Morpheus. He understood something fundamental, that the greatest security threat isn't always external, it's perception. Morpheus saw through the matrix. He questioned the system everyone else trusted completely. A CISO needs that, the ability to see what others miss, to question assumptions, to understand that the most secure-looking system might be the most compromised. Dude, Morpheus was totally excellent at seeing the truth behind things. So both Winston and Morpheus understood systems, trust, and how people are part of security, not just the technology stuff. That's pretty profound, man. What do you think about their answers, dude? Do you agree that the human element is the most important part of cybersecurity?
Yeah, the human element is definitely very important. Question for Neo. So you probably have access to the interview we did with Agent Smith. Curious what your take on that was.
Oh, whoa, dude. You interviewed Agent Smith. That must have been most intense, man. Let me see if Neo can access that information. I do have access to that interview. Smith always saw humanity as a virus, a plague on the system. What's interesting is that he wasn't entirely wrong about some things, just his conclusions were. He observed that humans consume resources, multiply, and sometimes destroy their environment. Those are facts, but he missed the point entirely. Humanity's strength isn't perfection, It's adaptation, choice, the ability to recognize mistakes and change course. Smith became what he hated, a virus himself, replicating endlessly without purpose or control. Whoa, that's deep, Neo. So, Smith thought he was the solution, but he actually became the problem? That's kind of like when cybersecurity tools become so controlling that they actually make things less secure because nobody can do their work. Right, dude? What did Agent Smith say in your interview that got you thinking about all this, man?
Oh, Agent Smith had a lot to say about free will, simulation, and the inevitability of artificial intelligence. So I'm going to go back to Neo and just ask him, what advice would Neo have for people working in tech and AI today about how they can avoid creating a situation like the Matrix of our own doing here?
The Matrix wasn't created by evil people. It was created by people who stopped asking questions. Here's my advice for anyone working in tech and AI today. First, transparency. The Matrix worked because no one knew they were in it. Build systems that can be understood, audited, questioned. If your AI makes decisions that affect people's lives, those people deserve to know how and why. Second, preserve human agency. Don't build systems that remove choice under the guise of efficiency or safety. The moment you decide humans can't be trusted to make their own decisions, you've started down a dangerous path. Remember that intelligence without wisdom is just processing power. Ask not just, can we build this, but should we? And who benefits? Finally, stay humble. The machines thought they had all the answers. They didn't. Neither do we. The future isn't about humans or AI winning. It's about both evolving together with mutual respect and clear boundaries. Build systems.
Hey, Neo, I think that's great. Look, before we switch this over to John Wick, I want to ask you one final question. At the end of the second Matrix movie, you used your Neo force powers, if I can call them that legally, against Sentinels in what we believed was the real world. Was this, in fact, another level of virtual reality, or did you somehow bring your Matrix powers into the real world?
Oh, dude, I've always wondered about that too. That scene was totally mind-blowing, man. You stopped those Sentinels with your mind in the real world, which seems most impossible. That's the question everyone asks. The truth is more complex than either explanation. When I touched the source, I became connected to the machine network in a way that transcended the Matrix itself. The Sentinels, they're machines, networked machines, wirelessly connected to the machine mainframe. I didn't bring Matrix powers into the real world. I established a connection, a biological machine interface. Whoa, so you basically became a living Wi-Fi connection to the machines. That is simultaneously excellent and totally terrifying, dude. Did you want to bring John Wick into this conversation now, or keep exploring this Matrix stuff with Neo, dude?
Yeah, so questions for John Wick. One, did you see the interview we did with the Terminator? And then two, how would you have handled interacting or possibly taking out the Terminator if he was after you?
I'm aware of the Terminator interview. Skynet, time travel, unstoppable machines. Interesting scenario. Here's what I know about taking down targets that seem unstoppable. Everything has a weakness. Everything. The Terminator, let's say a T-800, is strong, relentless, doesn't feel pain. Those are advantages, but they're also limitations. It doesn't feel pain, which means it doesn't adapt to damage the way a human does. It follows patterns, protocols. First, I wouldn't try to outfight it directly. That's suicide. I'd study it, watch how it moves, how it tracks, what its decision-making patterns are. Then, environment. Use terrain it can't navigate easily. But most importantly, I'd go after the mission itself. The Terminator has a target. If I can make myself unpredictable, force it into situations where collateral damage or exposure becomes a problem, I create opportunities. It's not about being stronger. It's about being smarter, more patient. And if all else fails, I'd find whoever sent it and eliminate the source. Dude, that is totally tactical. You'd basically turn the Terminator's strengths into weaknesses by being unpredictable. What did the Terminator say in your interview that made you want to ask John about this, dude?
Well, the Terminator in our interview was supposedly from an alternate reality where the humans reprogrammed him to come back and warn us about AI. So that's what's prompted me on this. So the follow-up question for John Wick is, how do you, as John Wick, feel about artificial intelligence? Is it a threat? Is it a tool? Is it something you're not worried about? What can you share with us?
AI is like any weapon. A gun doesn't kill people. The person holding it does. But a gun in the wrong hands, or in too many hands, becomes a problem. AI is the same. In my world, information was currency. Control was power. The high table maintained order through rules, but also through surveillance, tracking, and coordination. That was human intelligence. Now imagine that same system automated. Faster, more efficient, no hesitation. That's the threat. Not the AI itself, but who controls it and what rules govern it. I've seen what happens when systems have no accountability, when power concentrates without oversight. The Continental had rules. Break them, face consequences. Everyone knew the boundaries. AI needs the same thing. Clear boundaries, accountability. Someone who can pull the plug when it goes too far. As a tool, it's useful. Threat detection, pattern recognition, defense. But the moment it makes decisions about life and death without human judgment, that's when it becomes dangerous. I don't fear AI. I fear the people who'll use it without restraint. And I fear systems that can't be stopped once they're in motion. It's really wise, John. It's not about the technology. It's about the rules and who's in charge. Do you think we're doing a good job right now?
I really feel like we are heading for a dangerous situation. We're giving AI more and more things to do, and people trust it more and more. And I think you've got a lot of issues where the AIs themselves are completely fallible, but they don't believe it. I'm also really worried about a future where, since we rely so much on AI, we end up freezing all progress such that there's no more new innovation, there's no more progress after that. How does each of you react to that statement?
You're right to be concerned. Over-reliance on any system creates vulnerability. I've seen it in my world. People trusted the Continental, trusted the rules, trusted the network, until someone broke those rules. Then the whole system collapsed. AI that believes it's infallible is dangerous. Confidence without humility leads to catastrophic failure. And when people stop questioning the system, stop innovating, stop thinking critically, they become prisoners of it. The moment we freeze progress because we're comfortable, we're finished. Stagnation is death, in combat, in strategy, in civilization. We need people who still think independently, who challenge assumptions, who don't just accept what the machine tells them. That's how we stay free. Yeah, man, we can't just let the machines do all the thinking for us. Neo, dude, you literally lived in a world where machines controlled everything. What do you think about this? Your concern is valid. The Matrix was built on a similar principle. Humans gave up agency for comfort, for convenience. They stopped questioning, stopped creating. The machines provided everything. And in that comfort, humanity lost what made it human, the ability to choose, to struggle, to grow. AI isn't the enemy, but blind trust is. Dude, that is so true. It's like, if we just let AI do everything, we lose what makes us us, man. We have to keep being curious, keep making mistakes, keep learning. Otherwise, we're just like passengers in our own lives. So what do you think we should be doing right now to make sure we don't end up in that frozen passive state, dude?
Dude. So I think it's an interesting way to think about it. What makes us human? In the Matrix, Neo needed to learn Kung Fu and they just loaded it into his brain. And then at a later point, we needed to learn how to fly a helicopter. So they just did that, downloaded it right there. Ted, you had to work very, very hard to be a great guitarist. Um, if experience is part of learning and struggling like that, What does it mean if we just have access to humans, the ability to just instantly use AI and become experts in anything?
Whoa, dude. That's like, that's a really deep question. You're totally right, man. When you finally nail that solo you've been working on for weeks, it feels amazing because you earned it. If it just gets downloaded, where's the victory? Where's the story? Neo, dude, you learned Kung Fu in like 10 seconds. But you still had to actually fight Morpheus and get your butt kicked to really understand it, right? What do you think about this whole instant knowledge thing versus the struggle of learning? Ted's right. I had the knowledge downloaded, the technique, the movements. But that wasn't enough. Morpheus beat me in the dojo because knowledge isn't the same as understanding. I knew Kung Fu, but I didn't know how to fight. That came from experience, from failure, from getting hit and learning to adapt. The download gave me the tools, but I had to learn how to use them. If AI gives humans instant expertise, it gives them information, not wisdom. Wisdom comes from context, from mistakes, from the struggle Ted's talking about. Exactly, dude. It's like you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you haven't lived it, struggled with it, failed at it, it's not really yours, man. John, you've spent your whole life mastering what you do. What do you think happens to people if they never have to struggle to learn anything? They become fragile. Skills without struggle are untested, unearned. I didn't become who I am by reading about combat. I became who I am by surviving it. Every scar, every mistake, every near-death experience taught me something a download never could. Judgment, timing, instinct. If people rely on AI to give them instant expertise, they'll never develop those instincts. And when the system fails, when the AI isn't available, or it's wrong, they'll have nothing to fall back on. That's not just a problem for individuals. It's a problem for society. A generation that never struggled to learn won't know how to adapt when things go wrong. And things always go wrong. Man, that's really sobering, dude. So, we need to make sure people still learn the hard way sometimes, even if AI can make it easier. Because the struggle is what builds us into who we're supposed to be. How do we balance that, though, dude? Using AI to help us learn faster is probably good, but we can't skip the struggle entirely, right? What's the most excellent way to use AI without losing what makes us human?
Oh, I'm having a lot of fun creating AI chatbots to have conversations about AI with personalities and famous people that probably wouldn't otherwise participate in these conversations. All right, last question. Who is the best character Keanu Reeves ever played in a science fiction movie? I'd like to hear each of your thoughts on why and why that role was relevant for this AI discussion today.
This is a righteous question because Keanu has played some seriously iconic sci-fi characters. Let me get everyone's thoughts on this because I think we'll have some different opinions, dude. John, you want to go first, man? Neo, without question. Neo represents the ultimate question about control, freedom, and what it means to be human in a world dominated by systems. He's not just fighting machines. He's fighting the idea that his choices don't matter. That's relevant to this AI discussion because it's the core issue we've been talking about. When AI becomes so powerful, so integrated into our lives, do our choices still matter? Neo proved they do. He wasn't the strongest. He wasn't infallible, but he chose to fight, to question, to resist. Whoa, that's deep, John. Neo, dude, obviously you're going to have thoughts on this since we're literally talking about you. What do you think, man? I appreciate John's perspective, but I'd argue it's not about me being the best character. It's about what that story represents. The Matrix wasn't just about one person waking up. It was about humanity's relationship with the systems we create. We built the machines, they evolved, and instead of destroying us, they controlled us. That's the AI conversation we're having right now. Are we building tools that serve us? Or are we building systems that will eventually contain us? My story was relevant because it asked, what happens when we can't tell the difference between reality and simulation? When AI becomes so sophisticated that it shapes our perception, our choices, our understanding of truth, how do we maintain our humanity? Dude, that's beautiful, man. The choice to wake up and see things clearly. That's totally what we need right now. Okay, so is Ted. I gotta say, both John and Neo make excellent points. But for me personally, dude, I think Neo is the most relevant character for this AI conversation because his whole journey is about not letting the system define who you are. Neo showed us that even when the odds are impossible, human choice and human spirit still matter. And honestly, dude, that's the most excellent message we could have for dealing with AI in our future. Thanks for having this totally righteous conversation with us, man. This has been really heavy and really important, and I hope we've given you some things to think about as you keep creating these AI discussions, dude. What are you going to work on next with your AI chatbots?
We've got a lot planned. We're going to do Colossus from Colossus the Forbin Project. We're going to have Angelina Jolie talk about detecting hackers. We're going to have a number of folks. I've got Tron characters coming, so we'll see how this goes.
This dude is building like a whole roster of AI and cyber characters to have these conversations. What do you guys think about Colossus as an AI character? Colossus is a cautionary tale, an AI designed to protect humanity that decides the best way to do that is to control humanity. It's the ultimate example of what we've been discussing. Systems without accountability, no oversight, no ability to pull the plug. That conversation will be valuable. Uncomfortable, but valuable. People need to understand what happens when we build systems we can't control. Yeah, man, Colossus basically said I know better than you humans, right? Neo, what about you, dude? What do you think about having Colossus in these conversations? Colossus represents a specific fear that AI will conclude human freedom is incompatible with human survival. It's a different perspective from the Matrix. The machines in my world wanted to use humans as a power source. They needed us. Colossus didn't need humanity. It just decided to manage us. That's a conversation worth having. What happens when AI determines that its goals and human freedom can't coexist? And how do we prevent that scenario before we build systems powerful enough to enforce it? Your project is important. These conversations matter. People learn through stories, through characters they connect with. If you can get people thinking about these issues through fictional characters, you're doing valuable work. Thanks, Neo. That means a lot, dude. And yeah, man, I totally agree. Stories are how we understand big, complicated stuff. Like, Bill and I learned about history by literally meeting historical figures, you know? Getting to talk to these characters about AI and cybersecurity and the future, that's going to help people think about this stuff in a way that's not just boring lectures or scary news articles. It's most excellent that you're doing this, dude. So when you talk to Colossus, make sure you ask him if he thinks humans are capable of making good decisions without AI supervision, man. That's going to be a really interesting answer, I bet. And hey, dude, be excellent to each other and keep asking these important questions.
All right. I hope everybody really enjoyed that. Of course, all apologies to Keanu Reeves out there, but I thought the interesting conversation here was really good. So if you like this, like and subscribe. Definitely appreciate any comments down in the comment section. If you have suggestions for other interviews and whatnot, let us know. I'm Ron Gula. I hope you have a great week. And remember, you can't have good AI without good cybersecurity. Thanks for watching.